So we are here with Ricardo Espinosa, one of our newer Keller Williams agents. And Ricardo, I think we have a success story to tell, yeah?
Yeah, I just closed on my first sale.
Yeah. That first of all, it's amazing. Let's go way back. How did you find real estate? I mean, what happened? How'd you get here?
What happened was I was searching for a new career, and Keller Williams happened to reach out to me based on my profile in Indeed. And they said, hey, I think you'd be good at this, and your resume lines up with this, and here's what we're willing to do for you. We can pay for your schooling and come work for us. And that's how I got into it.
So you saw an Indeed ad for real estate school through Keller Williams?
No, they actually reached out to me. I don't remember if it was an email or a message.
Okay.
They reached out to me, and my father just retired from his job as an optometrist, and he's been doing real estate for a couple years now. And so I just simply took it as a sign, and there we go.
That's awesome. So you're in our mentorship program. How long were you in? This is kind of a loaded question. I'm going to catch you on this one too. How long were you in real estate with our office before you got business going?
I would say it took about 7 months until I really knew enough. And that is not to say that there was anything holding me back from starting a transaction sooner. It just happened to work out. That was how long it took for me to find my first client.
So yeah, but you actually did have traction before this. You did have a business opportunity. It didn't work out, right? It goes. But talk to me a little bit about that first opportunity that you had.
The first opportunity actually caught me by surprise because we weren't planning on doing this, but the idea was to sell our home in Glendale and to move to a new home in Pasadena. And so we put our house on the market, and it just didn't work out. We weren't getting the offers that we wanted. And so we decided to take it off the market. And actually, we're very close to putting it back on the market, hopefully in the next 3 or 4 weeks. Yeah, the first opportunity that I had was actually my own listing. And it was a great learning experience. And I'm sorry we didn't get the traction we wanted from it, but we survived.
See, this is how I know you're a good teacher, because you already went towards the direction I wanted to go, which was, what did you learn from the first one that you already got some seasoned experience to help with the second one?
Well, that's sort of the crux of the thing is you can know all you want about theory, about the laws, the rules, and all that stuff. But when it comes to actually doing it, that's what I learned from my first transaction, which is here's where you find the documents. Here's how you fill them out. Here's what you need to study in order to become proficient at this. And that's what Keller Williams provided for me.
That's awesome. Yeah, we always say, it doesn't matter how long someone's been in real estate. It matters how many transactions that they've done. Because that's really where you get refined. And you having that first one, you learned from it, jumped right into the second one. And I would say the speed in which you closed the second one already looked more of a seasoned agent. You were just moving so much faster. You understood the forms that much better. Yeah. Tell us how you found this client, because I love this part of your story.
Well, I live in a unit with a lot of townhomes, and there are 6 townhomes on my side. And we moved here, purchased this property in 20, and 2 doors down, there was this sweet old couple. And every time I saw them, my heart went out to them. And I just, you offer to help. That's just what one does. And so I would just be watering their lawn or watering their garden just randomly. And every once in a while I could help them. And then one of the homeowners died. The other one was left ready to sell. And I happened to be 2 doors down. And I said, you know what, I can make this as easy as it can possibly be for you. That is my goal. To sell this place, to move into your new home. And that's what I did. We put the home on the market, and within 7 or 8 days, we had 15 offers. The place ended up selling for $60,000 over asking. A lot of that was due to strategy in pricing. Thankfully, I had wonderful mentors to help me out with that. And, there were challenges during closing. And I just saw it as my duty to represent my client to the best of my ability. And that's when I found out my worth as an agent. That was when I discovered the negotiation process with other people. I get to decide how that goes. That's not anybody else's. I get to choose what I divulge to other realtors. And that was where I shined and was able to create a bidding war where one would have existed without me, but I don't think everybody would have felt as fairly treated as I treated them. So yeah, you meet people, you never know. In fact, my next door neighbor on the other side is considering selling his home. I'm going to put together a comparative market analysis for him, and maybe I'll sell this whole side of the building. Who knows?
I mean, honestly, it would make sense when people see the sign in the yard, or figuratively the sign in the yard, they start to understand that the proof's in the pudding. I mean, it's social proof. I want to go back to you finding this client because, Ricardo, I'm shocked you can sleep well at night, honestly, because how dare you go after somebody that just lost a loved one, and you went out and you sold their house. What do you have to say to people that say, I don't want to reach out to somebody that just lost a loved one, or dare I say a divorce, or just some other really stressful life season? What would you say to an agent that is weary of approaching those people?
I mean, my approach of her was not to take advantage of a situation. It was to help and to facilitate, because she had lived in this place for over 40 years. She hadn't used a realtor ever. She had no idea. In essence, I made her life easier by approaching her and offering this. It wasn't pushy. I didn't say, I didn't say all these other agents are bad and I'm the best. No, it was simply a situation where I felt I could help. And you're there for a reason. You hear this news for a reason. And if you are in a position to help, I think that that's what we're called to do. So in this case, it was a matter of being in the right place at the right time, hearing the right news. And the opportunity wasn't just for me. The opportunity was for her as well. She wanted to sell and get out of this place. And she didn't want a whole ordeal out of it. And she wanted somebody that she already knew and to some degree trusted, because, we're all the type of people who will help our neighbors. And so when you know that neighbor and they've done right by you for no reason other than just being a neighbor, you might want to trust them when it comes to a real estate transaction. So often we are taught that realtors are predatory. And I refuse to be that. And I don't take advantage of anybody. I'm here to help.
I mean, that was the perfect answer, just because, I think a lot of people, this is a testament to what we call geographic farming, where you're just present in the community. And we would say that your 6 sides of the housing area, that is your micro specific farm where you're watering their plants, you're helping them move things. And now you helped the person on the other side saw you do that. So it's almost like a miniature sample size of how geographic farm works.
Work begets work, actually. Yeah,
absolutely. Success. And I want to go to the pricing thing because, you and I did talk about that. And that was, it's really difficult for people, especially when they're selling, because it's first of all, it's a very emotional thing. And you're basically asking them to trust you on this strategy, which will underprice their home and trust that your experience will drive that price up. And it's a lot for a seller to trust that, because who are you, right? And, I think that now you already now have a tool in your toolbox where you can say, hey, seller Sally over here, we helped them sell their home for $60,000 over. Here's how we did it. And it's no longer theory. Now it's, well, let's take a look at 6 months ago. We just helped this family do this. And then 2 months ago, we helped this family do this. And it starts to just build on itself, which I think is awesome. So good on you for doing that.
Well, I had a great client too. She was willing to do anything that I asked within reason. And there was an explanation behind it. There was a strategy behind it. It wasn't just, I think that the key here was when you underprice something, they have to know they do not have to sell it for that price.
Yeah, they somehow think that they're going to get locked in and they'll get kind of duped into selling it for less than they wanted to sell it for.
Yeah. If it doesn't work, okay, then it doesn't work. And it all depends on their need. How long, what's their time frame? How long can they stay here? How long can they sustain this? So you price it like strategically with all of those things in mind, because is the top price, is the highest price the number one priority, or is it getting it off the market as soon as possible? If that's the priority, that's going to change our strategy. And so it's a matter of bringing that experience to where, all right, find out what they want. Do they want to get the highest price, or do they want this property gone? Okay, let's talk.
That's it. See, that's already a seasoned real estate agent, because most agents will come to the table with their preconceived, with their lens is, well, you must want the highest price, like obviously. And you think, well, no, if it's a 70-plus-year-old, that might not be the most important thing. It might be a hassle. It might be timing, so already you coming to the table saying, well, I'm not going to information vomit on you. You tell me what's the most important thing to you about this move.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go from there. Yeah. Okay. So leading into this, you had one listing under your belt, I would say, and it didn't work out, but you learned from it. And then now you have a second listing under your belt, sold, I would say a great success story. What does your confidence level look like now, and why?
I think I understand what it is people are looking for. And I think that as a real estate agent, I think that that's my experience outside of real estate that I give myself permission to bring, because now I've got work that is on paper and is real. And now I feel confident that I can help anybody through anything. Of course, I actually know somebody who's one of the partial owners of the Padres, and she owns a $37 million mansion in, I think it's Hermosa Beach. And that maybe intimidates me, but you know what? People are people.
Yep.
And they can yell at me all they want, as long as I represent my client to the point where they are taken care of. My confidence level is high, because I had to absorb some challenges, some people angry at me, and that's just got to be something that you can accept. I don't take it personally. They weren't really angry at me. They were angry at the situation, and they were angry at my response of no. Sometimes you have to tell people no.
That's a parent right there.
Yeah, they don't love it. But I would say, what this experience has given me in terms of confidence, I'm ready to go out for the next one.
Nice.
That's the best way to put it.
That's awesome. So you kind of tapped on this, and I want to dig in a little bit more. What would you say was the biggest challenge in this? I won't even say this escrow, because we all know it starts before the escrow. It starts with the nurturing the client, talking to them about their wants and needs. So what was the biggest challenge in this whole process for you?
I think that the biggest challenge is you have to learn to act professional and not let emotion cause you to raise your voice and to yell. So my challenge here, in this case, it was a great challenge. I had 15 offers to deal with. That's a lot of realtors to call and to coddle and to contact and to make sure that everybody understands what our goal is. And I think the biggest challenge came when, we set a deadline for offers. And the biggest challenge for me on a personal level was when I had a realtor put in their not best offer at the last minute and then contact me to berate me for not coming back with another offer, with a counter offer. And that was probably the most challenging moment. You want to look at it from their view and say, look, I had more money to offer here. That's what they're thinking. From my view, my client said, this is the deadline, and I will be deciding at 3:00 on this day. And so when that didn't please another realtor, that was probably the most challenging moment.
Got it. And because this is a recording and people may not be able to connect the timestamp to what we're living in now, right, I'm going to identify other challenges that were happening on the macro level. So today is April 30th, 25. Now, when you were in escrow and you were dealing with all this stuff, we had sky high interest rates, relative, right? High interest rates that
Yeah.
did not go down, even though we were all kind of anticipating they would. Let's see, I
Yeah.
wrote some down. We had a new administration, which brought in a lot of, I'll just say a lot of energy, plus negative, whatever you want to call it. There was tariff talk. There still is tariff talks. And then on top of that, there was the fires, the Altadena and Palisades fires, the Eaton fire. So, I just want to call that out because almost literally and figuratively, the world was on fire around us.
Yeah.
And you had 15 offers that you were juggling, and you have a family. I mean, so you had a lot going on. So I want to identify that as a challenge overarching everything else that you were dealing with. So amazing job. Like really, you handled that like a champ.
Thank you. And I would also like to add, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't insurmountable. It sounds horrible. Like you had to deal with 15 offers. I mean, yeah, not horrible, but it sounds like busy, like you're going to be working 24 hours a day. No, I did not find that to be the case. I dealt with what I had to deal with when I had to deal with it, and I still lived my life. I think that with all the chaos that happens that affects real estate, we have to remember that we start the war from where we're standing. We can't predict. We can't commiserate over the past. We can learn from it. But I found that, with the fires and all that didn't matter. What mattered was, where are we right now? What do we do right now? And who knows? We don't know. Next year, that same condo could sell for 3 times the amount or half the amount. We just don't know. So we can inform, but we can't really speculate. We can only start fighting where we're at. And that's probably the wrong word, fighting, but you know what I mean. We can only deal with the present. That's it.
And there's something that we talk about all the time in just our training in general at Keller Williams is the D's of real estate. And regardless of a new president, regardless of fires, the D's of real estate will always be there. It's diapers, So we have diapers, we have diamonds, which is engagements and marriages. We have diplomas, which could be known as empty nesters. We have deaths, we have divorces. These are things that, regardless of what's going on in the world, regardless of interest rates, if somebody passes, they're going to sell that house. They're not going to wait for interest rates to drop. If somebody has a baby on the way and they need more space, I mean, that's a ticking clock that they can't care too much about with interest rates.
Yeah. You deal with the reality of the situation rather than dreaming one up for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So Ricardo, I said I was going to steal you for 30 minutes. So I'm going to wrap up with one question that you did not know was coming. And yes, surprise question. I want to know, because I think this is a really important thing for real estate agents, anybody that is in sales and commission based. How did you celebrate your first closing? This could be as big or as small, but what'd you do?
I mean, in this case, I'm seasoned in receiving paychecks, so honestly, what I did, this is going to sound silly. What I did to celebrate was I went to Burger King and bought a $9 Whopper. I couldn't believe it was $9. Then I wanted it back. I was like, this is not worth $9. But honestly, we're so busy with kids and wife's job and my job, and we're living life. But yeah, that was the one thing. I don't do fast food because I can't afford it. If I could, I would eat there eat all the time. But in this case, I literally deposited the check. And then on my drive down Fair Oaks, I saw Burger King and I went, I'm going. I can go now. And I ordered a Whopper trying to show restraint, and it was $9.
I seriously love that, though, because and again, it could be big, it could be small. My wife and I, when we would close an escrow, we would say, like, we have to do something, even if it's like we're going to go have a 1 round of drinks at Doghouse, or if we're going to just go to a dinner, or something. I love that.
Yeah.
It's the little things.
Toast, your water at dinner that night. Yeah, I'm sure that happened, but I think that the one way of celebrating that I recall was that $9 Whopper. I don't think I'm ever going to forget. That was a lesson in and of itself.
The scary thing is this is timestamped. So maybe in a couple years, people are going to be like, a Whopper was only $9.
It was $27.99.
Well, Ricardo, man, all I can say is, as your partner, as your mentor in this transaction, it's been awesome seeing you work. I would say that with some agents, you help them with the contracts, and then you almost have to make sure they're going to communicate it well. I didn't have to worry about that with you. You communicate so well. I knew that once we talked about the contract, you were going to go translate that and convey it however you saw fit. And I knew you would do that well. So
yeah,
congratulations, man. So happy that you had this deal done, and looking forward to the next one, man.
Thank you.